under a year ago and runs until April 2023. So we're very interested today to get your we'll get your feedback on the project, but to be able to disseminate it to a wider audience. Next slide, please, Sylvia. Yeah, for some reason on my screen it's only showing the page with the 4 different project names, so I'm not sure what's happening there. If you could just show slide 2 to everybody.
Yeah, well, it's actually on the slide 2. Let me stop sharing and share again.
Okay.
See if that works. Or maybe I can just share my full screen and share the full PPT. Maybe that will help. Can you see it now? Is it good?
For some reason on my system I can only see the main sort of landing page, but I've got another laptop next to me, so I'll be able to just follow it by that, if that's okay.
How is it for the rest of you?
It's okay.
Yeah, we can see
yes,
that.
It moves back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry
I'll
about that. So
okay, sorry, Michael.
It's okay. It's just it must be a technical issue with Teams with my laptop. So the page I was just going to summarize is the first page about my organisation. So we're based in Yorkshire and the Humber, which is the north of England, and we're headquartered in Bradford, a city of about 500,000 people, just over 500,000 people. And Bradford is known as a city of sanctuary, as it has a long history of welcoming migrants, refugees and asylum seekers. So it results in an extremely diverse city, a large ethnic minority, and a very interesting place to be and an interesting place to work. The Aspire IGEN itself is a not-for-profit social enterprise, so we offer support to all different kinds of people trying to find work, people trying to integrate, so migrant support services, employability sessions to get people work ready. In terms of our projects that we work on, as I mentioned before, we have quite a vast array of projects, but the project I'm talking about this afternoon is a project called Informer. So if you can move to the next slide, Sylvia. So sorry, it's throwing me a little bit here because I can't see anything now, but I'll just persevere. Informer then, it's a 30-month Erasmus Key Action 2 project for Erasmus, and it is focusing on adult education. The project is being submitted under the innovation call, so we're looking to support female migrants in their integration into the 6 partner countries, which I'll summarise in a moment. The reason we focused on women migrants or female identifying migrants is that in our background research and in our experience of our day-to-day work, we found that women migrate in the context of family usually. So they join their husband, or they join their older male sibling or father or parents. Therefore, women's experience of integration is going to be very different from that of men, who are more likely to be already active when they arrive in the country, already active in the labour market. They're maybe more likely to be out the house socialising to sort of make contact with people. So the background to the project is supporting the integration of refugee, asylum seeker and vulnerable migrant women, and that's integration of all kinds. So that's economic integration, social integration, knowing about their rights politically, their rights within the family, so protection against gender-based violence, knowing what their access to justice, knowing what their legal rights are in the country that they've moved to. It's also got an element of supporting professionals who work in this field. So the project management team within Informer are not specialists in terms of migrant support itself. However, we have active engagement with those who work in the field. So there's also an element of networking and helping different organisations across Europe to interact with each other. Next slide, please, Sylvia. Hopefully this shows the project partners. I do apologise for this. So in terms of the project then, it's a consortium of 6 organisations from across Europe. So we have obviously the British coordinator, we have partners in Tuscany in Italy, in Uppsala in Sweden, in Larissa in Greece, in Leuven in Belgium, and Nicosia in Cyprus. And as you're probably aware, the whole reason we've picked these organisations is to have a spread across Europe, because obviously the migrant experience is not the same. It's not homogenous. Every migrant experience is different. Every country is different. Therefore, we pick partners from these different countries that bring the different context of migration, but also different skill set. So we actively engaging with organisations in each partner country and beyond as part of our research. And if you are interested in finding out more about the different partner organisations, they are hyperlinked within this presentation. So feel free at your own leisure to look and find out more about the different organisations. Next slide, please, Sylvia. Thank you. It's finally showing on my screen 15 minutes in. Thank you. So just boiling down then to what the target group of this project is then. So the application states that our target group, our direct target group, are refugee, asylum seeker, and vulnerable migrant women in each of our partner countries. And we stipulate the application stipulates there should be 90 beneficiaries across each partner country. However, we are more hopeful than that, and we hope that with attendance at events like this and with different outreach work that we're doing, events that we're taking part in, we can expand this to try and reach as many women as possible. Importantly, this project takes, I'd say, like a non-paternalistic approach to this issue. So we're not coming in as project management staff and telling migrants how they should integrate, how they should try to fit into the society in which they've moved to. Instead, we're actually giving the power and the agency to settled migrants. So our indirect target group are long-term settled and integrated female migrants and refugees. We're not setting a particular time limit on how long these women would have lived in one of our European host countries, but it's more for them to sort of self-identify that they feel settled in their new community and they feel that they are willing to get involved in this project. So what we're trying to do is set up a mentoring scheme in which settled female migrants train to act as mentors to women who more recently arrived in one of the partner countries. Obviously, just because a woman has been through the migrant experience does not mean that she's automatically qualified or equipped to be a mentor. Being a mentor is almost like being a teacher. Therefore, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. And it's something that you have to be fully trained in order to do that. So we're setting up a mentoring scheme where these women will train to become mentors and then be matched with the direct target group will be matched with the indirect target group to help facilitate their integration. We also have the indirect target group, as I mentioned before, of organisations such as those who come to today's session, but basically any NGOs, charities, organisations who specialise in supporting migrants. They're there to obviously ensure that what we are creating is fit for purpose and that we're not making any judgments. So a very good point that one of our UK organisations made at one of our workshops that we held back in May was that when we initially set out in the project, we assumed that women would want to be matched with someone who was similar to them. So someone who came from the same country or the same region, had the same religion or the same language. And in some cases that could help because obviously it will minimize maybe communication issues or understanding of cultural sensitivities. However, a good point was made that somebody might have fled their country because of religious persecution. Maybe they're from a minority religion or a different caste to the majority of people, and therefore they actually would be more suited to be matched with someone from a different background to facilitate real integration so that they don't stay within their enclave, within the city that they've moved to, but they actively engage with other communities, both migrant and non-migrant communities. So throughout the project, throughout the 30 months of the project, we're following what's called the co-creation methodology. And what I mean by that is that we're actively engaging these experts as well as the women themselves later on in the project. So as part of our project plan, we're hosting 3 knowledge exchange workshops in each partner country. Ideally, this would have been a face-to-face sort of roundtable event where we'd invite at first the NGOs and charities to come and discuss the topics at hand, and then obviously use their feedback to sort of shape the project as we go on. For the majority of project partner countries, because of the pandemic, they've had to be remote sessions, which has obviously altered our project plan to a certain extent. However, people have been very flexible and very forthcoming with their feedback, so we really appreciate that outside expertise coming in. So with online workshops, we're also going to be piloting next year, so both in the spring and then again in the autumn, we're going to be piloting our resources with all 3 of our target groups, but obviously focusing on the direct target group once all our resources have been fine-tuned and we're in the position to take on that challenge of actually helping these recently arrived migrants. Next slide, please, Sylvia. Thank you. So as part of the Informer project, we have 5 intellectual outputs, or we call it, we refer to it as a suite of resources to try and shy away from that Erasmus project speak. So our suite of resources includes 5 main outputs. So the color coded that I've just done here just kind of represents where we are in terms of the progress of these outputs. So our first output was a best practice handbook in the social integration of refugee, asylum seeker and vulnerable migrant women. This includes 100 best practices or inspiring examples from across European partner countries and beyond. And we tried to create quite an eclectic group of resources. We're very aware that we don't want to sort of reinvent the wheel or duplicate what other organisations have done across Europe. Therefore, in the production of our future resources, we are using these existing best practices as almost like the groundwork, the bedrock of what we're working on. So being inspired by them as we kind of create our next set of resources. The best practice handbook has all sorts of different resources in there, some that are more general, so maybe particular policies that local councils have in terms of helping migrants to settle. We've also got some quite relatively unique best practices there. So one that really stands out to me is a charity called Freedom for Girls, which is based in the UK, in the north of England where we're based. And Freedom for Girls is a charity which tackles period poverty. So their research has shown that many women, especially women from minority backgrounds, women with a migrant background, experience period poverty, meaning that when they menstruate or when they're going to menstruate, they don't have the correct sanitary wear or feminine products. They don't have access to that, whether it's because of poverty or lack of cultural awareness, because possibly the father or older brother is in charge of the family finances. It means that they don't really understand the importance of making sure that women in their family have that kind of access to those products, which really should be free. I think everyone would agree they should be free. There shouldn't be any cost for those, but just an example of the kind of different areas of women's life that can help their integration. Obviously, if women are concerned and women have to stay home because they are experiencing that just natural cycle, that's going to have an impact on their looking for work, mixing with people outside the community. So it's always different facets of integration and support that women need. So the best practice handbook is the first draft is being completed, and we're going to be piloting the first official version of it early next year. So if you are interested in seeing that, it will be uploaded onto our organisational website, project website, and we'll be contacting relevant organisations across Europe to get feedback on that. The best practice handbook then feeds into a digital platform which our partners IED and Larissa in Greece are responsible for. So the digital platform is going to be the main tool that people use for this access for this project. So it's going to house the matching tool for the refugee, asylum seeker and vulnerable migrant women to be matched with a suitable mentor. Obviously, we can't assume that migrant women of either of our target groups will have either access to their own device or digital skills. Therefore, we envisage when we actually go to pilot this next year, we'll be facilitating this through the use of community support workers. So we'll be going out into the community, hopefully, pandemic permitting, and actually introducing the project to our stakeholders and showing them how the tool works. obviously the first version, the prototype of the tool will be quite relatively basic and rudimentary early next year. By September next year, it will be a fully functioning translated app in all 6 partner or all 5 partner languages. And these women will be able to be matched with a mentor. There'll also be a database of mentors. So the women who've trained to become mentors, who are settled migrants, will be listed there. And that's obviously linked with the matching tool. So based on the women's level of education, their background, their maybe the kind of community that they're based in, they'll be able to match with a suitable woman. And as I mentioned before, that could be someone who shares those characteristics. Or there could be women who are really interested in finding out about different communities within the UK, for example, and they match with someone, say, a Bangladeshi woman and a Polish woman, and match together, and they can sort of communicate with each other and, you know, basically support each other in their integration. There'll also be a repository of best practices as well. So we are aware that this is a very hot topic and it's ever evolving. Therefore, the handbook that's being created, that was created a couple of months ago, was finalised. Those best practices will change, will alter, will perhaps come to an end. Therefore, the repository of best practice will be housed on the platform, and it'll be something that we constantly update and amend. So again, if there are any best practices that stick out to you, like any of the other presentations from today, we'd love to be able to house those on our network and help signpost people to those. Our third output is obviously linked to the platform, which is the MOOC, or the Massive Open Online Course. And this is basically the online training course which the settled migrants will be encouraged to take part in, to train roughly 24 hours worth of training. But obviously that's a combination of training modules, but also things like tutorials, video content. We are aware that, you know, people don't have that amount of free time available. So this is something they can take at their own pace. There's no time limit on how long it will take them to do it, but it's going to be 24 hours of training, purely because we're dealing with an important issue, a sensitive issue. And we need to make sure that the trained mentors are fully equipped to support other women in their community. The fourth output is the community of practice. So this is what I mentioned earlier about the fact that, as well as the female migrants themselves, we also want to help different organisations to communicate with each other across Europe. So it could be, for example, there's a Cypriot organisation which is very interested in how we support female migrants in the UK or in Belgium, and they can use our online platform to communicate with each other via a forum. We'll also list their contact details on there in a secure database. So it's kind of helping people who work in the sector to sort of conduct CPD or networking, to sort of branch out and find out more about different countries' practices. Finally, our final output is the impact assessment and policy recommendation report. So as part of all the work we do, so whether it's our piloting phases next year, whether it's our outreach work, so one-to-one calls with organisations, hosting workshops, etc., we're getting feedback from external participants about the project. So what our intentions are, possible issues we might encounter, ways that we can improve the remit of our project. And that will all that information will be collected throughout the rest of the project and will be boiled down into an impact assessment and policy recommendation report. So obviously assessing how successful we've been in terms of our goals for the project, but also how our hopeful successes can impact on policy and try to recommend changes to migration policy. And our Belgian partner, Square Dot team, are well positioned to lead that, being based and having lots of connections with the European Commission. So we hope at the end of the project, which will be in April 2023, we can present our suite of resources fully completed, and basically get feedback from those in the know about what we tried to achieve. Next slide, please. Thank you, Sylvia. So in terms of integration, then, I mentioned at the beginning of my call, before I could actually see the presentation, that integration means a lot of different things to different people. So it depends on how it translates into the different partner languages, the different contexts of migration. So whether a country has got a long history of accepting migrants, or countries that are relatively new to it, and aren't fully equipped to deal with migration or to deal with trying to integrate migrants, but especially female migrants in the context of this project. So whether we're talking about the best practice handbook or the online training platform or anything else within the project, these 6 dimensions of women's integration are woven, or they weave throughout all our different project outputs. So the legal equality of women and men and protection of women's rights, women's self-empowerment, empowerment within the family. So knowing what your rights are, what women's rights are in terms of things like women who are dealing with things like forced marriage, or that they want to divorce their husband and they're not able to because of cultural reasons or language barriers. We said basic language learning is probably the most important out of all these different dimensions, because without at least some of the language of the host country, migration will be obviously impacted, or fully integration will be impacted. Therefore, one of the sections of our best practice handbook focuses on language learning. So whether it's learning Greek or Swedish or English or any of the other partner languages, we signpost people to good examples of how language learning can take place. So, for example, learning through what we call in the UK ESOL cafes, where we do informal English language training, but we welcome women and all migrants, women in the context of this project, to meet, maybe bring food from their own culture or their own tradition, and speak to each other in that informal environment. So it gets rid of that sort of the worry or the danger of the feeling of being out of their depth, going to an actually official English lesson or a language lesson. They do it in a more informal setting. So it could be part of a cafe, it could be going to a theatre, being part of a choir, a non-religious choir, which is another example of a best practice. There's also the element of integration in the labour market as well. So as we're all aware, female migrants are less likely to be within the labour market than other groups. Obviously, there's a plethora of reasons why that's the case. But for those women who are wanting to be part of the labour market and are prepared and are able to do that, we want to facilitate that. So that will be done by matching a migrant with a woman with a similar background. So it could be a similar level of education. It could be they were both engineers in their home country and they've come to one of our countries and for example, their qualifications aren't recognised in the country. So helping them find services for their qualifications to be recognised or transferred to the EU equivalent. It could be to do with language level as well. So obviously, if somebody comes from a particular country with a really high level of, say, English, they'll be paired with someone who has a similar level of English to help facilitate those discussions. And obviously, these women can meet each other after they've been matched with each other, if necessary and if appropriate. They can meet with each other face to face. We are also aware of the fact that, especially in larger countries, we have that additional issue where someone might arrive in the country and then be rehoused in a different part of the country. So that's obviously something that's going to impact on the success of our project. So we're actively engaging with organisations from all over Europe, so all over our partner countries and beyond, to help facilitate the mentoring programme, the mentoring scheme. Next slide, please, Sylvia. Thank you. So in terms of our sort of online presence, we have a project website which summarises, again, what the project's involved, who's involved in the project, what our outputs are. We also have a Facebook page where we, post project updates as well as interesting articles pertinent to the topic of migration, but especially female migration. We have a LinkedIn group which you're welcome to request to join, and that's the main purpose of that is to be involved in any future outreach works, any future workshops. If you'd like to give piloting on our resources, please feel free to do so via the LinkedIn page. We also have an Instagram account and a YouTube account. At the moment, we are using them. However, that's going to be used to post video content because obviously, as I mentioned before, we have got a barrier between our resources and the women and our target group. So we're, as part of our project plan, we are going to be producing video content, which sort of breaks down and summarises what we're trying to do in video form to make it as simple as possible. So regardless of someone's background or level of language, they can get a basic idea or a basic gist of what our project's about. And it will be encouraged them to either train to be a mentor if they're a settled migrant, find a suitable woman to support them if they are recently arrived in the country, but then also for the NGOs and charities to be able to obviously help promote our initiative, but also to network with each other across Europe. Finally, we have a Padlet page. So Padlet is, you might be aware of it already, but Padlet is basically a virtual notice board or display board where external stakeholders, so it could be a member of the team today, someone listening into today's presentation, can go to our Padlet board to find out more about the project, but also to give feedback on our project, and especially if necessary, anonymous feedback, because we are dealing with a contentious issue. It's something that it's misunderstood and miscommunicated across Europe and beyond. Therefore, there could be a point you'd like to make that people don't feel comfortable raising it in this kind of forum or as part of a webinar or workshop. Therefore, external stakeholders, whoever they may be, can go to our Padlet page to give that feedback if they'd like to. Next slide, please, Sylvia. This is the final slide. Thank you. So as I mentioned before, even though we've left the European Union, unfortunately, and we can't take part in the Erasmus scheme, we are actively looking for partners in other calls. So we are looking for partners as part of the Horizon Europe call that takes place, I think it's mid-April next year. So if any of the organisations either presenting today or attending today's meeting are interested in taking part in a project with the Opportunity Centre, please feel free to get in contact via my email or via LinkedIn. As I mentioned there, we deal with all different kinds of projects, but those focusing on innovation, such as the project that I've talked about today, inclusion, careers, vocational learning. So please feel free to get in contact with us. We're interested in any calls that permit and welcome UK participants. And that's basically it from me. I do apologise for the technical problems I had there, but hopefully it was all pretty straightforward. You understood what the scope of the project is, and feel free to contact me if you'd like to have any more information.
Great. Thank you, Michael. I think that, well, we look forward to see how those pilotings and the practitioners communities go. So we'll stay tuned on the project and we'll see how it unfolds. But thank you very much for sharing. And yes, well, as we have done in all the previous webinars, we'll be sharing with you a very quick survey right after the webinar. So you can tell us with which practice would you be interested in collaborating or you would like to learn more about, and we'll put you all in contact, okay? So, well, before we move on, if anybody has any question, you know, you can raise your hand on Teams like this. So if you have any questions or you would like to add any comment. Okay, otherwise, we move on to the next practice, which is the SENSIBILIZA project. And it's a practice led by Acoge from Spain in this case. Maria, thank you very much for joining today and for sharing your practice with us.
Thank you to you for the invitation. I'm very, very glad to be here with you all. It's the first time we participate in this European network, so we are very excited about it. And maybe I would prefer to share the screen if it's possible.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing.
Yeah.
And
okay, let's see if it works. If not, I will ask you to share it.
No, I think it works perfectly well. We can see your screen now.
Yeah?
Yes.
I don't think so. Let me check. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me introduce Acoge. Acoge is a federation working since 1991. We have just celebrated our 30th anniversary. And we work for the rights of migrants and refugees in situations of vulnerability. At this moment, as you can see, the network is made up of 20 Spanish organizations working at local and regional level. We are all around Spain. And we work for the reception of migrants and asylum seekers and refugees in different areas as language learning or legal and psychological assistance, and also inclusion in the labor market. Are you watching the screen or not? Yeah? Is it working?
Yes, but it's still the first slide. I don't know if you moved.
Okay, I'm moving now. As we were talking, we are today presenting Sensibiliza, which is sponsored by the European Social Fund and also the Inclusion and Migrants Ministry of Spain. And what this project is about, you know that Spain has changed from being a sending country of migrants to being a recipient of migratory flows. So we have to adapt to this process to optimize the wealth that this diversity provides the society, and also to prevent possible conflicts. So Sensibiliza started 30 years ago, and what this project pretends is to raise awareness about these benefits of the cultural diversity in the workplace. As companies are reflection of the society and are composed of people, we must face a new reality marked by globalization, high competitiveness, and the diversity of the society. So the main challenges this project face is the first one is to raise awareness among the people who manage and form the companies and all the stakeholders. We need to carry out an adequate management of cultural diversity, creating and dynamizing a meeting space to show to serve the work in these spaces. So what we do is to carry out a prospecting and visits to companies, providing them with information about the project, and also making available to them a whole battery of tools. Some of them I'm going to explain to you. Was one of the most important is the network of companies committed to cultural diversity and inclusion. This is the Red Empresas comprometidas con la diversidad. So this network is created to strengthen the discourse by generating synergies between different stakeholders or organizations. And also we provide to the different companies that join the network a quality seal that we award to them as a company committed with cultural diversity. Other tool that we have implemented is the índice de diversidad. This is the Diversity and Inclusion Index, which is a tool to measure the status and involvement of organizations in a respectful and inclusive working environment. This I would like it to stop here and to explain it a little bit, because it's the first tool that was implemented in Spain to measure the progress in the implementation of an inclusive and respectful work environment. What we do, we collect data in 4 blocks of the companies. This is a corporate policy, internal and external measures, and we do also a map of diversity about their workforce. In this index, usually around 50 companies participate, what we do a global report that it's a joint analysis of all the participating companies to evaluate diversity management, and also for each company that participates, we do an individual report that contains a detailed, individualized and confidential analysis of this company. What we analyze in these reports are 5 diversity variables: gender, disability, age, ethnocultural background, and sexual orientation. We also work to improve the training of the business world, and we have a training catalog that is updated every day. And we also offer face-to-face training sessions to company, and also we run an online course, and also we do different webinars around the year. So this is the main tools that we have in this project. And for the target groups, I will say we have like 2 groups. One is the migrant population and asylum seekers and refugees that are benefited of this project. But we work directly with companies. Usually it's the human resources or managers. It depends of the size of the company, but also the corporate, the CCR responsibles. The methodology that we use, it's in first place the innovative tools that I have just mentioned, the Diversity and Inclusion Index, or the Red Mass network of companies, but also we work with a broad concept of diversity, because we understand that we need to work all the variables of diversity, but the culture is transversal to other expressions of diversity, because it's the one that often leads to multiple discrimination. That this means that a migrant person, in addition to this cultural background, normally is the more significant one, but and the one that we emphasize in this project also intersects with other expressions of diversities, such as gender, age, or sexual orientation. And the sum of all these can lead to multiple and daily discriminations in the work environment. What the project seeks is to ensure that all actors involved understand cultural diversity as a positive and unavoidable reality, which, if correctly managed, becomes a real competitive advantage when operating in the global world. And we also interrelation with other different groups. We work with universities, commercial and professional associations, and we also do specific trainings to diversity agents. One of the most important parts of the project is the project dissemination that we do with, we have a special page that I will show you afterwards, and also a blog, and we do also a newsletter to the companies, because we think it's essential that both companies and migrants play an active role in this project dissemination. And we are implementing also some mentoring actions with companies, so to teach migrants and refugees about the selection process and jobs interviews, for example. We have also elaborated a guide for employment of migrants, and also another one for refugees that we have just presented a week ago, and that is available
Maria,
in. Yeah.
just 1 second, because I think they're saying in the chat that they cannot see your slides moving. I can, but apparently they can't. So
okay, so okay, I was just finishing. So if you can move to the fourth.
Yes, I think let me try and share. Because I think
there was some problems with the.
Yes, but I didn't know because I could see it all right and I could see it moving.
Okay.
But
Technology.
So, but you were still in this slide, right?
Yeah,
You were mentioning
was
about
finishing that
projects,
one.
dissemination, monitoring, and actions. Can everyone see it now? Is it good now? Yes. Okay.
Okay. So maybe we can move to the results, and I will show you the web page. We have around 100 companies that have joined the Red Más D. We have just held a meeting, the first national meeting of the companies last week, where we have analyzed where we were and where we want to go in the future. At this moment, we have already elaborated 5 index reports. Around 150 companies have participated in those index because it's common that the companies participate in several index, which is very interesting because we can see the development they have made since the first index or the second, and we also made some recommendations in if they have progress in this index. And about 800 professionals have been trained in 30 face-to-face sessions, more or less, and we have already held 10 editions of the online course. I would like you to show the page. Maybe you can click if it works, or in. Silvia, we can't hear you. Okay.
Here. Can you see it?
Okay. You have all the information about this project in this page. You can see in index you have the 5 reports. You can have it from there. And also in Red Más D, you can see the companies that are part of the network. It's important to say that we have like big companies. Sometimes they are like branches of multinationals, but it's very important because there are some small and medium companies that have been implementing very interesting measures. So to share all these different best practices is very interesting for the companies also. And we have some informaciones. We have, I'm sorry, the page is not in English, but if there's someone that speaks Spanish, or maybe one of the challenges, we have is to translate this page and some of the reports, because we have been demanded for English versions and we don't have it, and that's one of the requests that we are trying to answer. I don't know, as you haven't seen the presentation, I don't know if there's someone that has any question that maybe I can't answer, or...
No. Well, I think they were saying most of the time just the main, the first slide. But yes, sure, if they have any questions, maybe this is a good moment.
And I don't know if you are going to send it afterwards. You are going to send it. Okay, that's great.
I'm going to send to all the people attending the webinar the full PPT with all the information from all the projects that you're presenting today. And they will also have there the contact of each of your organizations, because that's on the last slide. So,
okay. So maybe we can move to the last
Yes.
slide. I mean, it's the one about the partnerships, and we
Yes,
have,
that.
yeah. So we have already participated as Red Acoge in several European programs, but nowadays we are looking for public and private partnerships, and also, as I mentioned before, we are looking to extend this program to other countries in Europe. So one of the things we have to do is to translate the reports and the pages, but we are willing to share with other countries the work they are doing in diversity.
Wonderful. Well, that's a very good point now, to open up and to start testing it out, escalating it in other countries. I mean, I think it's a very hard work to do, to go to companies, to get them to be open to receive training and to, you know, be open to be more diverse and learn about how to do it. So I think it's really, really interesting, and you're doing a great job. So hopefully that can happen in many other countries. But well, that's, at least you have a very good start with the Spanish context.
Yeah,
so
that's
congratulations for that. Okay. Well, if you don't have any questions, then we move to the next project, which is ELYME from Materahub. And today Paolo Montemurro is with us, and he's going to be, well, teaching us a little bit more about how he's been working on this project and what it's all about. I don't know, Paolo, if you would rather have me sharing my screen, or if you want to do it.
As you wish. I mean,
you can go ahead and try, and if
Okay.
everyone can see it perfectly, then it's good. Otherwise, I no problem. I can do it myself.
So let me try to do this. Okay, sharing. Okay. So you should probably now be able to see the full the presentation.
I can see it.
Okay,
Yes.
the page about Materahub. Okay.
Yes, it's good. Thank you, Paolo.
Okay. Great. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. We're very happy to be today with you and to have the opportunity to share our experience together with these other great projects that we just heard about. Before presenting our ELYME project, I would like to give you a little bit of framework of who we are and what we do. My organization is called Materahub. We are based in the city of Matera in the south of Italy. And our main area of expertise and work is entrepreneurship education, social innovation, creative and cultural industries. Sometimes these three areas are going together because for us, the topic of developing entrepreneurial approach to life, so not necessarily becoming entrepreneurs, but having a positive approach to everyday activities in different contexts, is very much related to the development, the local development from the social and the cultural point of view. And at the same time, we strongly believe that the culture, creativity, and arts are able to activate a process of sustainable local development. All these elements sometimes are together when it comes to inclusion. So for us, one topic that is very important is about giving to people the possibility to test themselves in entrepreneurial action, and so fostering inclusion into the new communities that just received them. So let me know if you see the next slide.
Yes, it's good.
Okay,
We can see it.
So ELYME project. ELYME stands for Entrepreneurial Labs for Young Migrants. And the funding scheme of the ELYME project was a pilot call launched by the DG Growth from the European Commission. This call was proposed 2 different times. Just for you to put it into the timeline, the project started when Europe was when in Europe the migrant flow were very at the center of the agenda. So the European Commission thought that it would have been interesting to understand how the work of several initiatives could have brought benefit to the topic by tackling it from the point of view of entrepreneurship. The call was making reference to discovering the hidden migrant entrepreneur. So scouting for and offering opportunities for all those people that reached Europe recently or some time ago from first or second or even third generation, but that could somehow be supported in order to develop their entrepreneurial competencies, develop their business, start up their business, getting involved in a series of activities that would have made possible for them to become fully integrated into the society by contributing and launching a new company. The ELYME project, so the partnership, it has just it has been completed just a couple of months ago. The partnership was made by 2 organizations from Italy, 1 organization from Belgium, 1 from UK, 1 from France. So the area where we were testing the entrepreneurial labs for young migrants were these 4 countries. One of the interesting thing that the project was somehow living was the experience of being a project with 2 different lives. The first one before COVID, the second one when the pandemic started. So the project started in 2019. We had the first year full of events in presence. Then from March 2020 until the very end of the project, everything had to be reorganized. And I think that one of the most interesting things was the capacity of the partnership to make the most out of the new online features and scenarios that we were all living, and try to understand the weaknesses of this approach, particularly concerning the target, so the migrant people that were involved in the project, but also having the chance to really expand the project to a larger scale. So not only local, but more national and European. Just some information about the target. As I was saying, we were focusing ourselves on young migrant entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs. So either those who already had a company, a business, or were freelance, or those who had an idea, wanted to start a business. Then we realized that we had to split a little bit the second group. So we were not only working with those who had already an idea and so were missing the competencies, the connection, and some links to get access to funding, for example, but we had also a lot of interest from people that didn't have any idea and had so to work on an idea generation process, understanding what were the things that they liked to do, and based on that, based on what they were doing in their countries, what they wanted to do in the new countries, starting to design an idea, and then entering a second step when from the idea we were guiding them on how to develop a business plan. The target, depending on the countries, was second-generation migrants, women, or recently arrived migrants. We decided to give flexibility to partners. So, for example, in France, they worked a lot with second-generation migrants, and we noticed that the people that they were working with were young people, young entrepreneurs, that were going to set up their startup without really considering their background as migrants. So they were targeting people in universities, they were targeting young people into incubators and so on. In UK, for example, they wanted to work a lot with migrant women. So there was a specific focus on female entrepreneurship and understanding also how being a woman being migrant had kind of impact in the possibility to develop their own business. And then in other countries, we were working more with migrants that were just arrived, so with some specific challenges that had to be solved. In 2 years and a half, we had the chance to develop labs involving some 100 participants from these different targets, piloting the activities that we wanted to develop. One target group that is missing in this slide were the intermediary organizations that were supporting migrants and that we wanted to connect in order to generate national hubs or local hubs where all these organizations could really create synergies in order to share opportunities, to share projects, to share their work. And by doing so, supporting better the migrants that were involved in the activities that they were offering. So how the training activities in the labs were structured? First of all, we had a double offer for the participants. The first one was training focused on entrepreneurial competencies. The second one was a methodology for mentoring based on a practice that our partner from UK developed and tested in several projects that proved to be very successful in activating peer mentoring and connection. One thing that is important to say is that our training, as all the training of Materahub when it comes to entrepreneurship education, was structured following the Entrecomp framework. So the framework of the European Commission about entrepreneurial competencies and entrepreneurial skills. Why this? Because we wanted to put ELYME inside the communities that are now using the framework, giving more visibility to the project and to the fact that we were targeting migrants and which is a target that normally is not really among the one that those who are using Entrecomp refer to. There were, as I was mentioning before, we splitted the groups into 3 main groups: pre-startup, so those who had not started yet their business. We understood that there was a need to go through a lab for idea design process. The second level was the development of the business plan. And what we did was to use one tool that we have implemented in the framework of another European project. Is called the Creative Project Canvas. The Creative Project Canvas is taken from the business model canvas, but instead of being very much focused on startups and so on, the business dimension, it has a lot to do with the development of projects based on community impact, social innovation. So the business is not really the core of the canvas, but more the values that are generated, the relationship with the people, with the community, and so on. And we thought that this could work very well for the target, because a lot of the ideas that had to become a business plan were very much involved to community-based businesses, small businesses, and social innovation. Then we wanted to focus with those who already have a business. So we organized a number of workshops with experts and advisors. There was a needs analysis conducted at the beginning, where we understood what were the needs of the participants. there was a lot to do with access to finance because, they had a company existing, but for example, they didn't have a good dialogue with banks, or they didn't know how to have access to public funding available for companies or European funding and so on. So thanks to the participation with experts, we organized a series of labs that were more focused on specific topics, marketing, access to finance, IPR topics, for example. And then we involved all the participants in this mentoring circle. So the mentoring circle was a mentoring action where one mentor was more as a guidance for a group of people coming from different backgrounds, where each participant was mentoring the other ones. So that's why it's a peer mentoring. The group dynamic was guiding how one member of the group was getting support from the other and giving support from the other. And so we activated the process of entrepreneurial mentorship by having the migrant participants to mutually support each other, to share their experience, to give tasks to one another from one session to the other. And it was very, very effective. All the materials, all the communities created the hubs. The fact that we had to cope with COVID brought us to bring one online platform that is called MIHub, so Migrant Entrepreneurship Hub, which for us is somehow the online space for the national hubs and for the migrants that participated in our project, the organization that want to cooperate with one with the other in order to support the development of new projects, new initiatives, or the access to the existing one. So in the MIHub, from one side, we collected the open educational resources. We transformed the training into something that could be delivered also online. The Belgian partner, Bantani, developed an online course for the participants, which is available in English and in French. We opened the community, so there is a space, a forum where organization can nationally and at European level interact and discuss sharing initiative, asking for support, sharing their experience. At the same time, we are mapping all the different organizations active in each country. So really, MIHub for us was and is a very strong element of the legacy of the project, together with what each organization can still deliver nationally. So a second wave of other training activities and mentoring activities can happen, and every organization is fully equipped in order to deliver this with the other groups of migrant people. But at the same time, all the other organizations that do not belong to the countries of the partnership or that have not been involved in the phases of the project can access MIHub, can have access to the open educational resources, can propose new open educational resources, and making them making the community grow, making the content become more and more rich, always updated. So this is really something that we wanted to work on. Now the ELYME project has been attentioned by the Entrecomp Europe partnership, where we are also involved, because as I was saying at the beginning, there is a need and an interest of mapping activities that were performed about migrant entrepreneurship using and referring to the Entrecomp framework. So going towards the end of my presentation, Materahub, what is doing is working a lot with, I would say, all the European program, the one that are active and can be really take as advantage for a project about migrant entrepreneurship are not only Erasmus+, but well, the former COSME, also initiative into Creative Europe can go in the direction of promoting creative entrepreneurship, for example, for migrants. Of course, AMIFCO are of interest for us, and as was mentioned before in the first presentation, the new Horizon program that is going to have some specific call for the topic. We are basically open to know more about public and private organizations that are interested in approaching the topic of support to migrants from the point of view of social economy, cultural and social innovation. And of course, you know, we have this experience in entrepreneurship education and in social innovation that is open for everyone who wants to have access to what we have done and what we can do. So for those of you who are interested, this is my email, and I will be more than happy to get in touch with you.
That's great, Paolo. Thank you very much. Very, very interesting. Really interesting. And I see how it also shares that mentoring element with the first project with Informer. So probably there is a lot of synergies there and things to share. Thank you. That was very nice. Okay, I'm not sure if there is any question, if you want to leave them for the end, or maybe there's just no questions, but we have one more project to go, and we have Amelia with us. She's from Catnova, and she's going to be sharing with us also one of their very good practices regarding migrants inclusion. Thank you, Amelia.
Hi, everyone. Sylvia, if you would be able to share your screen for me, I think that would work best. Thank you so much.
I'll do it. There you go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so my name's Amelia. I am currently in the United States, but I've been interning with Catnova since August. And Catnova is based in Barcelona, Spain. And Catnova focuses on social inclusion, occupational inclusion, primarily for vulnerable groups in Barcelona. So this includes senior citizens, women, and immigrants. I can go to the next slide. Thank you. And one of our projects that focuses on social and occupational inclusion for immigrants is called INMIGRANDES Generando Valor, which kind of roughly translates to like older immigrants generating value. And the main goal of this project is to increase the social and occupational inclusion of immigrants over the age of 60 to improve their quality of life in Barcelona. And beneficiaries are vulnerable as a result of their age or economic status and or lack of knowledge of their rights in their new place of residence. And this program also promotes the right to live, age, and die with dignity. And this is promoted through activities that address the areas of emotional, physical well-being, intellectual well-being, and interpersonal well-being in order to promote active aging and continued learning. This program is also called El Camino de los Grandes, or the Journey of Seniors. Like I said, it's aimed at immigrants in Barcelona who are over the age of 60. And some of our beneficiaries, especially those from Venezuela, are in critical economic situations, which makes the generation of an income a vital part of their social integration. So this program offers personalized consultancy to help beneficiaries identify their skills, strengthen their capabilities and competencies in order to increase their competitiveness and recognition in the workplace. And there's also an option to become involved in volunteering instead of job or entrepreneurial endeavors. So in all, one of the main goals is to combat some of the ageism that can occur in the workplace among older individuals. But then this also is harder for immigrants because they're in a new place of residence. They may not have connections. They may not have some of the skills that are needed in working in the occupational world in Barcelona. So this program aims to help identify what skills they do have, put them in connection with training that can help them develop their skills so that they are ready to go into the workforce and are more so recognized in the workforce. And methodology used, this is done through the promotion of activities that defend and protect the rights of people to obtain access to healthcare and housing, social assistance, and pensions, and does not fall into social exclusion. So another aim of INMIGRANDES Generando Valor is to help connect our older immigrants with services that kind of walk them through like how to obtain their pensions, what social assistance is available in Barcelona, because that can definitely differ based on the country. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so like we said, the general objective is to promote the social occupational inclusion of immigrants who are over the age of 60 in Barcelona and improve their quality of life. So 2 important ways that we do this are through the promotion of integration and interculturality. We focus on the creation of links between people, no matter their origin, age, gender. And we do this by also working with nonprofit organizations, public and private entities, the Municipal Council of Immigration, the Advisory Council of Elderly Individuals in Barcelona. We work with spaces for older individuals and civic centers in order to create platforms and spaces where older immigrants have a voice and can share their story and their knowledge. And so I have outlined our 4 main objectives, and the first one's promoting the defense, preservation, and recognition of the rights of older immigrants. The second is promoting actions aimed to help older immigrants live in age with dignity, which is done through activities that address emotional, physical, intellectual, interpersonal aspects, as I mentioned earlier, to promote active aging, continuous learning. And this is done with the goal of promoting the autonomy of immigrants so that they feel comfortable to be able to live their day-to-day lives on their own. And then the third objective is to increase relationships between older immigrants and people of different ages or people with similar ages who are local so that people can learn from each other, help and support each other, and avoid unwanted loneliness and isolation, which is present among any older age group in the world, but can be more so among immigrants because they're in a new place of residence. So this program helps to connect people together. This also contributes to the sharing of their experiences and knowledge, increasing feelings of value and improving quality of life. And then the fourth objective is to promote occupational insertion, volunteering, or mentoring to improve the economic situation of elderly immigrants who do not have or do not collect their pensions. So INMIGRANDES Generando Valor focuses on what we call talento senior or senior talent. So focusing on the skills that older immigrants have, building up their skills, promoting personal growth, so that we're able to connect them with organizations, businesses, jobs that are welcoming of older immigrants, and we help promote what they have to offer and build up what they have to offer so that they're able to become incorporated into workplaces and then become incorporated socially. And then if you could go to the next slide, please, Sylvia. Thank you. And then here's some links for more information. The first one will take you to the Catnova website, which talks about the main page that focuses on older immigrants or older beneficiaries in general that Catnova serves. And then the second link is a PowerPoint that explains INMIGRANDES Generando Valor in more detail, just kind of the steps of the program and what is offered. Go to the next slide, please. All right, and then we also have another project that's brand new for the first time this year, starting in January of 2022, and the program will run until October of 2022. It's called Inclusión Vital, or Vital Inclusion, and the goal of this program is to address the role that gender dynamics may play in conjunction with the risk for social, I should say, exclusion. So kind of similar to what Michael was saying earlier about how gender dynamics can impact one's inclusion socially and occupationally. So this program primarily focuses on female immigrants in situation of risk of social exclusion. They may or may not have work permits, and our beneficiaries are especially those from Latin America and who may have families. So again, the target group are women at high risk of social and occupational exclusion, and this includes migrant women. And the methodologies used include helping vulnerable women grow professionally and develop personally to promote their social and occupational integration into society. And each participant is involved in designing their own work plan while working with coaches to do this. Plans can be modified based on personal needs and circumstances and whether goals are being achieved towards social and occupational inclusion. In other words, this program is open to modification, allowing participants to be included in designing their own paths and plans that lead to the best outcomes. And we believe this results in greater intrinsic motivation, having some control over your own path and some autonomy in this case, and being able to change your plan if things aren't working out or if something comes up. Especially if you have a family, things can change quickly. So having this flexibility, being able to kind of take charge of your own path, promotes greater intrinsic motivation and just greater feelings of being able to accomplish what you would like to accomplish. And of course, having a coach available for support is very helpful. Next slide, please. Okay. And so there's also 4 main objectives for this program. The first is environmental knowledge and information, so empowering beneficiaries with formative, informative, intercultural, and linguistic tools and personalized advice to promote their sociocultural skills and knowledge of their place of residence. Kind of similar with MIGRANDES and Valor, promoting greater awareness of one's new place of residence, what's available to them, in terms of culturally, socially, economically, becoming just more aware of what's available in their community. And then the second objective is advice and job training. So providing guidance and employment advice and providing tools and resources to achieve autonomy, learn and grow personally, obtain certifications that can be helpful for employment or self-employment. And that can also help them decide their next path, either working or starting a business or volunteering. The third objective focuses on business competencies, so developing emotional, digital, and technical skills through training to generate self-employment that allows beneficiaries to overcome any precarious situations they may be in. We work with numerous partners. 2 of our partners are FIDEM and VAE, who we referred to for appropriate startups of projects and who we refer to for the possibility of financing. And for emotional support projects, we also refer to our partner Babel. And then the fourth objective is accompaniment, intermediation, and networking. So facilitating the inclusion of beneficiaries into the labor market. And this is done through our partnership with Incorporated La Caixa. They have job listings and a job bank available and information about prospective companies, organizations, internships, volunteer opportunities for beneficiaries to become a part of, who either have or do not have work permits. And they help us connect beneficiaries to opportunities. This is done through the creation of inclusion and insertion itineraries, personalized family support and guidance as part of work plans, as well as helping to strengthen beneficiaries' networks of professional relationships and their participation in society. And then you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So here's some more links for information. The first one, again, leads you back to the website for Catnova, their page about ProJump Dones, which means ProJump Women. ProJump is our main project. So this one focuses on women, and then links to Vital Inclusion, which is a new and upcoming project. And then the second link take you to a PowerPoint that explains more of like the steps of vital inclusion and how that works. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. And then we are interested in forming partnerships with other organizations that focus on social and occupational inclusion, especially those that support senior citizens, women, and people without work permits. In general, we're interested in joining calls that focus on social inclusion, labor inclusion, entrepreneurship. That's also an area that Catnova focuses on, helping beneficiaries form their own entrepreneurial projects or become involved in entrepreneurial projects, kind of promoting that idea of self-employment, connecting them with resources, training, and other organizations that can help turn their ideas into a real life project, as well as support for seniors, women and people without work permits, and also training and education for adults and seniors. Catnova has numerous training programs, and one of them is called Abriendo Caminos, which is also called like opening pathways, which is a weekly seminar program where participants can join Zoom calls and interact with other beneficiaries, and they learn occupational skills. There's reflection on one's self personally, and also just learning basic job skills that are important, how to use Excel, what does it mean to create like end of the year, like financial reports and more. So I've included the 2 emails you can use to get in contact with us at the bottom. And the second one links to the president and founder of Catnova, María. Thank you so much for joining and listening about Catnova today. This is my first time joining a webinar, so I apologize for my novice tendencies. So thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Amelia. That was great. Really, I think that was very interesting. I don't know of many projects that are focusing on senior migrants. So it was very good to hear what's being done on that side, as we mostly focus a bit more on youth and women, and it's good to see how we can probably learn some practices from you and from the rest of partners. It was great. Thank you all very much for sharing your practices, your work. And well, this is the last webinar that we have for this year, 2021. So we will be for sure organizing something very similar next year. But well, at least I will get the chance to see some of you on the forum that we're organizing on Thursday. I'll send along the link to register for those who haven't done it yet, because this year, as a novelty, you can join us face-to-face in Madrid, which is, of course, always the preferred option, but you can also join us online. Let's see what happens with all the technical issues, because when we overcomplicate things with technical issues, I'm always so scared of things going wrong. But well, let's see. We hope that it will work out, and we'll be very happy to see you again in any other activity that we'll be organizing, or in your activities, or well, we'll just stay in touch. Thank you very much for sharing, for attending the different webinars, for presenting your practices, and good luck with all the work that we have ahead of us to keep doing with our projects, with new initiatives, and all of that. So it was very good to share with you this series of webinars. Okay, so have you all a good afternoon, good evening, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.